Welcome back to another edition of Everything Football 62. I'm your host, Jonathan Big Tex Johnson. Let's first establish this real quick. Football, for one, is a team sport. Like all sports, like all team sports, so it's a team sport. Football is obviously no different. The ultimate team sport, as I've always said. Between the offense, defense, special teams, coaches, assistants, head coaches, and the likes. Quarterbacks are normally, obviously, as we well know, the most important position on the team. I sometimes beg to differ, but they are considered the leaders of the team. They're the leaders of the offense. Most of all, they are the face of the franchise. And you want a particular type of quarterback, or a particular type of that quarterback. You want a particular type of personality, a certain image that you want to have for that quarterback who's the leader of your team. Because, like I said, you're the face of the franchise and whatnot. So picking your quarterback is extremely important. It's the most difficult position to learn as soon as you come into the league. Everybody knows it takes a good 4 or 5 years for that to actually go on. Some guys catch on to it quicker than others, but you know it's one of those positions. It's always been taught it, always been said that that's the position that the quarterback. All the girls love the quarterback. The cheerleaders love the quarterback. He's the one. He's the man under. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's always been that. So there's never been any different with that. The only thing that's happened with the quarterback position, that it has evolved over the 100 years of this particular great game that's been played. We just celebrated the 100 year of football. The actual birthday of it will be coming up sometime, I think around August or sometime or another, to make it a full 100 years. And so the quarterback position has evolved. And everybody should know that. Like I've told y'all several times, the game has turned into that of the college game, and it's opened up. And that has so it's a different type of quarterback that plays that position, or that can play that position in pro. Okay, so having said all of that, as you can probably tell by the title, there is this thing, because as we well know, I think the Panthers have already pretty much have released Cam Newton from the Panthers. They signed Teddy Bridgewater last week. I think they're 3 years, $60-some-odd million deal, having the quarterback for them. Because Cam has basically had been hurt. Cam basically has missed a season. He in that was 2018, where he basically missed the last 2 games, and then he missed 14 games for the 2019 season, this past season here. So he's missed 16 games. So he's basically has missed the season, which means Cam has played 8 seasons of in the NFL, even though he's been in the league 9 years, but he's only really played in 8 because he was hurt basically for 16 games. So that's a whole season. Cam, as I had mentioned a couple of days ago, is that of a quarterback that's been extremely durable. I think in his first 7 to 8 years in the league, he's only missed 2 or 3 games. One of the most durable quarterbacks that's been played in this play, especially with his style of football that's been played. However, as Cam has been being released and whatnot, and Cam said they gave up on me and whatnot, I kind of figured that's going to happen anyway. You have all these different people out here. I've just seen a guy sit up there and say, well, of course, Coward, whatever his guy came there, Colin Coward, whatever his name is on Fox or whatever, saying Cam was an average quarterback that ended up having one great year and whatnot. And then you had this other guy, I don't even know, he's some CBS guy, say Cam couldn't hit the backside of a barn and whatnot. And I say the irony of all that is completely ridiculous. But it led me to do this. And I do these things on Cam because, like I said, this is the thing. People talk about of different quarterbacks being dynamic and whatnot, and I say, okay, and fine, so be it. This quarterbacks can be that. That's and dynamic players, and they bring different things to it. But this is what I did, being that Cam is in the NFC South, and I was like, you know what? This is what I do now. Mind you, guys, about last year, almost a year before last, I actually did a piece on the first 7 or 8 years of Drew Brees' career, first 6 or 7 years of Drew Brees' career compared to the first 6 or 7 years of Cam Newton's career. I'm not going to even say anything about it. Go back and check that out in the archive, and you go back and tell me what you are going from there. But this is what I did for giggles, for those guys that talk all this mess and saying Cam's an average quarterback. No, an average quarterback that won the NFL MVP is Brian Sight. An average NFL quarterback that won the MVP was Earl Morrall. The average NFL quarterback that won the MVP was John Brody. Those were average quarterbacks that won the NFL MVP. Okay? Period. and I could actually go play and have games and put their first 8 years put up against Cam's. There's no comparison. Now, but this is what I did. Being that the NFC South in the past decade, right at 10 years, has represented in the Super Bowl 3 times, right? And whatnot, with New Orleans Saints winning it all in 2010 or whatever. And Cam them losing to Denver, I think it was Super Bowl 50, 51 or whatever. And then, of course, Matt Ryan them blow that lead. Atlanta blew that lead, and that's that. But this is what I did. So in the past 9, 10 years or whatever, 8, 9 years, 10 years in the NFC South, this is what's been happening in the NFC South. It's either Atlanta's either won that division, New Orleans either won that division, or Carolina's either won that division. Everybody else really pretty much doesn't matter for that for that part there. Doesn't even really matter. But this is what I did, right? This is what I did. So I was like, let's compare the first 8 years of these quarterbacks. Now, Matt Ryan, Matty Ice. Well, I'm gonna go with Drew Brees because he's the elder statesman of this group. Drew Brees, his first eight seasons, because Drew Brees didn't play he played in one game in 2001. So it wasn't a start. So his career really doesn't start until 2002. So the first 8 years of his game. Drew Brees is 68-53. 30,425 yards, 201 touchdowns passing, and 7 touchdowns rushing. 4 Pro Bowls, Super Bowl champ, 1-time All-Pro, Offensive Player of the Year. Matt Ryan, Matty Ice, 74-42, right? 32,757 yards, 186 passing touchdowns, and 5 rushing touchdowns, a total of 191 touchdowns altogether, and Drew Brees total of 208 touchdowns altogether. In that time frame, Matt Ryan was named to the Pro Bowl 3 times. This is his first 8 years. It wasn't until about his 11th or 12th year when he actually went to the Super Bowl and whatnot. So like I said, his first 8 years. Now let's go to Cam Newton. First 8 years in the league. Now people say, well, 9. I said no, because I said, and this is based upon 10-game minimum. 10-game minimum. So I don't count last year because he missed 14 games. So that's 14. So he missed all of last year, basically. So I got him for 8 years. 7 9, I got him for 8 years that he actually played. 68, 53, and 1. Same identical record as that of Drew Brees. 28,469 yards passing, 182 touchdowns, which is only 4 touchdowns from that of Matty Ice, who is and these guys that he's going up against are the statuette quarterbacks, the traditional quarterback, if you will. 182 touchdown passes, 58 rushing touchdowns. Okay, now that's the thing. 3-time Pro Bowler, 1-time All-Pro First Team, Offensive Player of the Year, MVP, and he lost the Super Bowl. So those guys, Matt Ryan and Drew Brees, have from the accuracy. There's never been a question about talking about Cam Newton's his accuracy. No, Cam Newton is never as accurate as them guys there. He never will be. He didn't have to. You know what I'm saying? He is not that type of quarterback. He is not that traditional sense of a quarterback. Right? Their dynamics is throwing the ball and having this completing percentage. That's the whole thing. Completing percentage. All of that they speak about. Right? That's their dynamics. That's not Cam's dynamic because he's a dual threat quarterback. He sets up the run. He runs to set up the pass. That's his game. Cam is not a quarterback that throws the ball 45 times a game. That's not his game. That has never been his game. His game is to run, loosen them up. That's what they do. Play strong defense. He runs the ball. He gets in there, have about 10 carries a game, throws the ball 20, 25 times a game. The run sets up the pass, deep passes and whatnot. If you got some decent wide receivers that can actually catch the football, that's what you're going to have. His dynamic is being 6'6", 250, and have power, and have so far in his career at the age of basically 29, even though he's 30, but the 29 set the record of having 58 rushing touchdowns in an 8-year career. Okay? That's his dynamic. His dynamic is throwing 3,000 yards and rushing for 500 to 600 to 700 yards, giving you about 24, 25 touchdowns and 7 to 8 touchdowns a year. That's his dynamic. None of those other guys. So having said all that, the total touchdowns for Cam Newton, and these are guys from the NFC South. All these guys have made Offensive Player of the Year. All these guys has made an All-Pro team. All these guys have been to multiple Pro Bowls. And they've been to Super Bowls, only one winning it. Right? His dynamic is the rushing aspect of it. And he has 240 touchdowns. That's his dynamic, is that 58. Not the quote unquote completion percentage. That's not the dynamic. The dynamic is rushing for 58 touchdowns in 8 years. That's the dynamics. Okay? They're coming up with 30 some touchdowns a year. Maybe 22, 23 passing, and probably 8 or 9 rushing. That's the dynamic. Okay? That is the dynamic. He sets that up. He's the straw that stirs the drink. Always have been. I've already said they was trying to turn that the face of the franchise is going to be Christian McCaffrey. That's what they want anyway. So that was inevitable to happen, which is why he was drafted. Now, having said that, something people used to say back in the day when Shaquille O'Neal became a first-round pick and what he came around and doing, and I had a good friend of mine, I've mentioned this before, and a lot of guys sit up and say, man, all he do is dunk. All he do is dunk. Oh, my friend's reply would always be, last I checked, it count for 2 points. So Cam might not throw 45 touchdowns, even though that year when they went to the Super Bowl, he threw 35. He might not throw for 45 touchdowns. He might not throw for 50. He might not throw for 30 again, but he's going to give you 20 to 25, and that ball getting the 5-yard line, good luck stopping him. You follow what I'm saying? Cam Newton, people forget, and these guys are talking all that mess. People forget that in 2018, in the first 8 games, Cam Newton and the Panthers was 6-2. 6-2. And they went to go play Pittsburgh. And that's why Cam hurt his shoulder. He got sacked 5 to 6 times that game. And his shoulder was messed up. And as a football player, you condition goddamn player. And he did. And he didn't do nothing but damage his shoulder even more so. Ended up playing. So from 6-8, then they went on a 6-game, basically a 6-game losing streak. He had some good games, and then the defense let him down. And then he had one of atrocious games against Tampa, or might have been New Orleans. One of them, we threw like 4 picks. Granted. But he was hurt. Then basically broke his foot in preseason and tried to play the first 2 seasons. And when they lost that game against Tampa, when I'm like, okay, they're right on the, it's 4th and 1, and they on the 2. And they tried to do that trick, and I said, because Cam couldn't plant, as I would find out, he couldn't plant and then go over the top, because that's what he does. He gets that. Nobody can stop that. His foot was broke. So that's causing Cam between the shoulder was fine. Then the foot, now the foot was messed up. And all that. It'll be an excuse for everybody else. Now, Andrew Luck, who went through all that, nobody hardly said anything about him. I would bring that stuff up and everybody, oh man, what are you talking about? Nah, but they'll give him a pass, but won't give him a pass. Okay? So I've already said where I think Cam should go. He should go to San Diego, where he can run the ball a little bit, pass, get the pass, run the ball, set up the pass, and got that Keenan and got Williams over there. You follow what I'm saying? That's my take on it. You know what I'm saying? But to say that he can't hit the outside, his game is not that of being a completion percent. Even though in 2018 at 6-2, the first 8 games, he was an MVP candidate the first half of the season, and he was almost at 68% completion ratio, and ended up finishing with almost 3,000 yards, 24 touchdowns, and like 13 interceptions. Okay, what else you want from this guy? They gave up on him, and that's all there is to it. But that is what I'm talking about. So for those guys who disrespect him, coward, and that clown from over CBS, I'm like, come on, dude. His dynamic is those rushing touchdowns and getting that first down and getting that hard yards that Christian McCaffrey could never get. And in 3 games, whether it was Tampa Bay, Washington, and Green Bay, where they're between the 3 and 4 yard line, 3-yard line, he could never get the ball in. So you tell me who's most valuable. You gonna tell me he's not? McCaffrey couldn't do it. If Cam's down there, he's got that. He's already got that. Yeah, that's his damn body's damn near 3 yards. So what we talking about? So that's what I'm saying. His dynamic is he's able to power and get the ball in the end zone in those situations and get the first down. That's his dynamics. You follow what I'm saying? That's his dynamic. And stop hating on him. An average quarterback who so haven't had a good year. And like I said, Brian Sipe was the average quarterback to sit up there and did that. Okay? And like I tell you guys all the time, there is no GOAT. There's no greatest of all time. As long as time is still going on. And for those other guys, like I tell you all the time, Numbers don't lie and get emotional. People do. Y'all have a good one.